To work on mathematics and mathematical formulation of plasma. Do you think the plasma processes of the Keshe Foundation have been mathematically modeled yet, from GAN's formulas to other applied processes? So he's interested in working on the mathematical formulation side of plasma. Is there any work for someone like that? In the way you haven't given us too many formulas exactly for plasma.
I always said, have you ever seen God measuring things and mixing together and making a solar system? Everything is accidental, coincidental interactions. Let me explain to you why it cannot be done. It's in a very, very simple way. You cannot, if you understood the process of the Keshe Foundation work as a plasma, as a GANs, as a field, you cannot find two similar GANSes. I'm talking individual GANSes with exact specific characteristics at the same time in the same place. It's absolutely impossible. It doesn't matter how you turn it. Now, how are you going to write a formula about something which you have no control over? You can say, okay, I put 1 drop of amino acid. I put 1 drop of GANs CO2. Excuse me, how many GANs are in that drop? Would it come to the time when we can count the GANs pieces in a drop? But then there is another problem. Sorry, they don't all have the same energy. So writing a formula for Keshe Foundation process of fields, you can try. It will be very interesting. As much as you can stop a woman shoe shopping, you can do what I call calculating. It's impossibilities. Because we can work within a frame, try to create condition within a frame. But in that framework, you cannot even dictate. It's all in the hand of creation and what they call creation of the fields and interaction of the fields. This is how the universe has been. Opportunist, and at the same time, with no control. I said once, do you know why the universe and all the creations you have that is spherical like a ball? Because God loves to play football. And the footballists are the best opportunists. So it's impossible. You cannot formulate it. If you understand the principle of the work, it's impossibility to formulate anything about dynamic plasmatic fields and the rest of it. You understand this if you go back. I don't know if you even can find these papers anymore. Russian scientists in 1990s and mid of 1980s start making computer programs and assumptions how vortexes of magnetic fields or matter states are created within the sun, and they went all the way to the center. I have these papers somewhere. I collected because it was very interesting how self-centered became the whole structure, how actually fields of, or what you call it, vortexes of the hydrogen or helium build themselves into the center of the sun, and then by compression of the center, they create that elusive fusion to go out as a field, which is a lot of nonsense if you understand it. So what was interesting for me, how did these people calculate what's the strength of these fields? How many hydrogen pieces they consider into it. But it was very nice, the imagination they used to do it. And it's impossibilities. Because every atom of hydrogen, depending on its environment, depending on its strength at the point of creation and how long it's been created, what is given or taken, has different field strength. It's impossible if you truly understand the work of the plasmas, because you cannot repeat it. Something is calculable if you can. You cannot repeat it, because the next sense you made, even you use 100% copper, has in it a different atomic structure of isotopes. And these isotopes in the pack you put a 1 drop, how many of these isotopes are in there? You cannot measure it, and you cannot feel it. So if you've been with me enough, long enough, you know, I work on the average of, it does what it's supposed to do, so it has the fields. We cannot calculate it. In 2008, right now, in August, September, when I was in Sharif Tehran University laboratories building the first flight systems, first what we call dynamic power generators. This became a discussion between me and the Iranian scientist. They said to me, you open your reactor a few times a day. Because those days we had these, and now you all know, was the radiation source from the smoke detectors we were using. And I never used gloves and these things. I just picked them up, put them back in, and then I created enough aggravation for them, how this guy works with radioactive material without anything, because I don't absorb them. And I built a sense of where to position these 200 or 300, what do you call it, radiation sources, in what manner to get what field creation and what direction of motion. And I never relied on that, we do it this way. I relied on what I could see physically, the fields we create, ionization and everything else, fields of the plasma, and I could say, okay, you've seen it, the big ball, how this ball will, what do you call it, will move. Will it move to the left? Will it move to the right? Would it, what do you call, spin out of control? And this became a game for me for weeks in Sharif University. And I used to open a reactor, move some of the sources to one side, and then close the reactors. It wasn't just opening and closing, it was all these silicon seals I had to use, and screws and tightening and everything else. It used to take about an hour, 2 hours to actually get one system set. And I used to take the glue off the back of these radiation sources, move them slightly, and I could say, okay, now the system has to fly in the left side at what angle. And then we turn the system on and we actually get it. And put it this way, we were correct 2 out of 10 if we were lucky, but then we start mastering it in more deeper, we became like 3 out of 10. And even that, 2 of them was a bit dodgy, but we could now dictate the position of the, what we call, rotation or rejection. We could not calculate, it's impossible to calculate how plasma will interact, how plasma will manifest itself. It's impossibilities. You cannot write a formula for the knowledge of the creator. He didn't come up with a, what you call, a formula why man is trying to do the job he never wanted himself to do. Otherwise, you know, when he created the earth, he would have dropped a letter in Mix this, you get this. Mix that, you get that. He didn't do it. And I don't think any of you ever, with even the fast computers, will be able to establish such a thing. It's absolutely impossible. It is not easy task, but it's literally impossible to write a formula. And you can repeat it. Once something is repeated, can be repeated, is a technology. And we don't have knowledge to be able to repeat because it's a nature, it's natural process.